Hello again, everyone. This is Rock Kabar here, as always, seeking the truth. And my video topic for today will be addressing what I believe are some of the basics for understanding the Bible. Now, there are plenty of people out there that claim to have read and understand the Bible, but yet most of the people are missing what I believe are some of the basics when it comes to understanding what the Bible is actually talking about. The very first thing that I think everyone who reads the Bible needs to understand is that the Bible is a Hebrew book. What that means is it was written by Hebrew Israelites to Hebrew Israelites, but for everyone. Now, not knowing or simply ignoring this fact can lead to a lot of misinterpretations when it comes to understanding the Bible. The second thing that we all must understand is the original language that the Bible was written in. The Old Testament and the Apocrypha were both written in Hebrew, while the New Testament was written and then translated into Greek. Now, all of this was later then translated and transliterated into English, but not by Hebrew Israelites though, but by Jewish Masorites. And the last basic thing that everyone needs to know when it comes to understanding the Bible is that the Bible cannot be read out of context. Many times people read the Bible without even understanding what the scriptures are actually even talking about. Sometimes some verses need to be understood prior to reading other verses in order to get the full understanding of the text. This is why precepts and knowing precepts are so important. So the very first thing that I mentioned was understanding that the Bible is a Hebrew book. Now, most people know and agree that the vast majority of people in the Bible are actually Hebrew Israelites. But for some reason, this fact is generally ignored or overlooked. Understanding who the Israelites are today and some of the other nations as well will help you get a better understanding of biblical history and biblical prophecy. Now, I have other lessons that go into detail explaining who the different tribes or nationalities are today. But just in general, to be short for today, the Israelites are the Negroes in America, the Hispanics, and the so-called Indians. Caucasian people are Edomites, meaning descendants of Esau. Arab people are Ishmaelites, which means descendants of Ishmael. Asian people are descendants of Japheth, and African people are descendants of Ham. Now, every single person on earth can be traced back to someone in the Bible, like I just mentioned. After the Most High flooded the earth, the only survivors were Noah, his 3 sons, and their wives. The whole earth was then repopulated through Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The descendants of Japheth moved east towards the land of Asia. The descendants of Ham moved south towards the land of Africa, while the descendants of Shem stayed in the landmass that separated the two, which is now called Arabia. At this time, everyone on earth spoke the same language, but only the descendants of Shem followed the Most High's laws. Now, the first king or ruler of the world after the flood was a descendant of Ham named Nimrod. Nimrod worshipped a pagan god named Baal. Nimrod married his own mother, Semiramis, and they created the first known world religion, which is known as the Babylonian mythology. After Nimrod died, Semiramis gave birth to an illegitimate son named Tammuz. Tammuz claimed that this child was the reincarnated version of Nimrod, and then she proceeded to lust after him, and then she ended up marrying her own son and proclaimed to everyone else in the world that he was God. Now, after the Tower of Babel, the Most High separated the now 70 different nations into their own language. So now the exact same stories about creation, the flood, God, and everything else was then separated off into different languages in different parts of the world. But still, the only nation that kept the true language and worshiped the true God were the descendants of Eber, Shem's great-grandson. Then through Eber's descendants came Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which today are the Israelites. So, I know that was a lot of information, but like I said, there's a lot of different references that I could go into to explain those, but I didn't want to do that in this video just because there's so much. I just wanted to hit the topic and hopefully everyone goes out and do their own research on the things that I mentioned. Now, my second basic point that I wanted to go into talks about the understanding of the translation of the Bible. Although the original scrolls of the Bible were written by actual blood-born Hebrew Israelites, it was descendants of Esau that eventually transcribed and translated the scrolls into the English that we read today. This all began around 70 AD when the Romans took over Jerusalem and drove the Israelites into Africa. Now, the Romans were primarily descendants of Esau, and they did not worship the God of the Hebrews. The Romans were pagans that worshiped the same gods that were worshipped in ancient Babylon. Now, with the real Jews out of the picture, Jewish Edomites became the authority over the Israelites' records. So when the Romans took over the Israelites' land and their records, Jewish people injected the name of their God into Israelite books. The same people that translated the Bible also created the Talmud and practiced the religion of Judaism. Then in 325 AD, the Roman Emperor Constantine mixed the pagan beliefs of the Romans with the original teachings of the Hebrews and created a religion called Christianity. The religion of Islam came from the descendants of Ishmael. Now, in both of these religions, the basis of their beliefs comes from the writings of the Hebrews, because it was always understood that the God of the Hebrews was the creator of all things and to be feared above all other gods. The other nations planned together to make Israel forget who they were as a nation. And in doing so, the Israelites lost their language, their laws, and their customs, and their connection to their God. Now, understanding the Hebrew language is key to knowing Christ and the Most High's true name. It is also key into being able to not fall for a lot of these false doctrines that people created out of misinterpreting the Bible. Now, that actually leads me to my last basic point. You have to understand what you're reading in the Bible. The Bible is very repetitive, and it's that way for a reason. Almost every concept in the Bible is found in at least 2 or more places. So many times I've seen people use one sentence alone in the Bible and create a doctrine around it, just so they can have that sentence mean whatever they want it to mean, instead of letting the Bible explain for itself. This is not how we're supposed to properly divide the Word of God. Everything must be read and understood in context. That means don't just read one sentence, and you need to read the whole chapter to understand what that verse is actually referring to. And on top of that, you still may not fully understand what a particular verse could be referencing, even if you read the whole chapter, because sometimes it could be a reference to something else that's written in a completely different part of the Bible. The Bible in its entirety is not a complete book that is supposed to be read or understood straight from cover to cover. It's rather a collection of different chapters of the same story that are all thrown together into one. So you must link together certain scriptures from different books to get a full understanding of the same story. Then also you have to take into account what version of the Bible are you reading. Now, the only English translation of the Bible that was ever authorized by an actual Hebrew Israelite is the 1611 King James Version Bible. All other versions were created by Jewish Satanists that purposely changed and even completely took out certain scriptures in order to hide or mislead people from the hidden truths that are in the Bible. A prime example of that is the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha are the 14 books that were taken out of the original 1611 King James Version Bible. Now, there are other books that also support the Bible, like the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees. Now, all of this information fits together just like a puzzle. If any of it is missing or changed, it's very difficult to see the full picture. Now, like I said, I didn't give any references or scriptures to go over anything that I mentioned, but the next couple videos on my playlist go over some more key fundamental truths that are in the Bible that we all need to understand to make sure that we're understanding the Bible correctly. Now, like I said, I hope that everyone always goes out and do their own research on the things that I mentioned, like the like Babylonian mythology, Nimrod and Semiramis, do their own study as far as trying to understand the Hebrew language. A good reference for that is the Strongs Concordance. But as always, I'm always open to discuss and answer questions if any come about. But for now, I just felt like putting that out there. Like I said, if anyone wants to leave a comment or a post, please feel free. And no matter what, whatever you do, remember to always seek the truth. Shalom.